Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Good morning, everybody from Brussels. We're a small group of people from Basel, Mumbai, from Vienna, etc. And we're going to talk about India today. Many ideas and practices which are essential for well-being of people in Europe and the US and other parts of the world have their origins in India. So we're going to talk about this today with three amazing people, Mandar, Balbir, and Aksinya. So, who is Aksinya?
Hi. Yeah, it's the question which kills everyone like me. Introduce yourself, because this is something you can't do in one word. But to put it shortly, I'm a polymath, very curious about life and in different aspects of it. Polymath, it means a person who is a multi-specialist in several disciplines, and currently, I focus mainly on talent and future, but I have domain knowledge in several other things. And polymathy, it means I've written 2 books about polymaths, and I'm writing a book about world history of learning, largely covering Indian history of learning too. And yeah, the 4th book will be also very important. It will be called We Multidimensional Humans, where I want to address the issue of being human in today, especially in relevance to artificial intelligence, because this question will arise even high, because in fact we don't have any definition for a human today. You know, there is no official statement what is human, and we will need that badly soon. So this is so I'm covering a large scope of things, and I'm very curious. And I need to say some words about my Indian connection, or I say it later.
Oh, please go.
I can say it right now, because it's important in that. Oh no, I will say it later. Otherwise, it's too complicated.
Okay.
I have a deep Indian connection, but I'm not Indian. That's important.
Okay. So let's Balbir. Tell us, who is Balbir?
Yeah. I am a multidisciplinary designer and also a professor and a dean in one of the design university based in National Capital Region in Delhi. I started my work with organic chemistry specialization. Then I went into textile design. Then I had my design studio. So I am working with a lot of things at the moment. So I work a lot with trend and forecasting of the lifestyle of home decor products, of colors. So that keeps me traveling from one space to another space. So I keep on traveling to visit a lot of exhibition spaces and these things. And in terms of academia, I teach something like service design, system design, and also user experience design. So these are the things, and that is why I am connected to a lot of these new generations, especially Gen Z. And my focus has also been also doing the trend and forecasting related to this particular generation in many aspects. So this is the basic idea, and right now I am doing a little bit of research based on how things are moving in terms of how people are in terms of artificial intelligence, how it is impacting the social change or Gen Z in terms of employment, in terms of thinking, in terms of finding the new way of life. So this is one of the very interesting field I'm doing, and I am to teaching artificial intelligence also in terms of visual design and creative thinking or critical thinking. So this is about me. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Mm.
And
Mm.
Mandar, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So firstly, nice to be here. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I am a chemical engineer, but I don't do anything like that anymore. I then was a petroleum engineer, worked on oil and gas rigs, but I don't do that anymore. Then I was the head of strategy and innovation for a small oil company called Shell. My title at Shell was game changer. That was a privilege and an honor, maybe some past life karma. I used to manage a $25 million budget that looked at innovation for the future of Shell. Then I became a filmmaker. So I'm a documentary filmmaker. My film is on Amazon. My film is used to promote Indian culture as a solution to the violence in America. Then I am also now running a consultancy on peace. And my passion these days is to bring people together who are seemingly opposites and create a space where they agree to disagree and go back happier than they were before.
Right. So the reason that we're here today is to discuss the very big topic of spirituality and many ideas and practices which are essential for the well-being of people in Europe, the US, and everywhere around the world, actually. They have their origin in India. And these practices, they would include yoga and meditation, vegetarianism, perhaps, Ayurvedic medicine, and concepts like mindfulness, and well-being. So a lot of these have their origins or ancient origins in India, and they play a very important part in the lives of people around the world. So one of the things that we'd like to discuss today is, given the rapid changes that are happening in India and the rest of the world, how is this experience of spirituality going to evolve in the future? And what does it mean, both in the rest of the world and in India? So the question is quite open. And for those of you who have joined the Future Now show, we have three amazing people to talk about this: Mandar, Balbir, and Aksinya. And to get things going, I think I'd like to start with you, Mandar, to tell us about what you've been doing in the whole area of peace and dealing with violence, etc., and the links with India and what you've been doing abroad in the rest of the world.
So, firstly, Felix and Patrick, it's a very important conversation that many don't dare to go. Many people of Indian origin also do not dare to go for whatever reason. This can include bureaucrats, think tanks, businesses, etc. So, firstly, congratulations for just holding this space. My experience is that Indian spirituality is universal, but we have never been exposed to it. And whatever the West thinks about Indian spirituality, which is mostly upward dog, upward dog, downward dog, has nothing to do with Indian spirituality. You will not find a yoga studio in India. So I think what we have to learn is to look at the wisdom of the ancient Indian seers with today's lens of what can we borrow, because the whole world is a global village and we have to learn to coexist. We didn't have to do it 20 years ago, but today the whole world is in a mesh, in bracket a mess. And that is where we need to learn how to live and coexist in harmony. So that is what Indian spirituality and the wisdom of yoga meditation, of course, but a way of living provides you. The reason I went into this field is I had an experience of violence in my own life while I was working at Shell. I was attacked by a mob in Nigeria. And that got me thinking about how do I heal myself. And so my first meditation class was taught by two white people in Houston, Texas. And I didn't know anything about what they were talking. And that got me really embarrassed that they are telling me things like live in the present moment, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, etc., etc. I had no idea about any of this. So that is where my journey as a seeker began. That, hey, I am from India, but how come I don't know anything about my own culture? And that is where you can say America was where I got that awakening, and I started focusing on healing myself from the violence that I had experienced. And then realizing that people may have, name titles like vice president, executive vice president, but inside them, they are hollow. They may have the most technical superpower, PhD, they work in Shell's research center, but emotionally they are hollow, they are weak. And that is where I felt like, can I be a change agent within this large oil company? And even if I can make 1 degree change in the way Shell does or Shell leaders think about life, it can make a huge difference. So I started teaching meditation at Shell, and I ended up teaching 2,000 people worldwide, Shell colleagues worldwide, in a very interesting program that I designed on how meditation practices improve your creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship skills. So it's the wrapper that I had to design for the chocolate of inner peace, because today the wrapper sells more than the chocolate itself. And so that is where I feel the world has to, appreciate that we will disagree with many things. We will disagree with all kinds of things, but can we learn how to agree to disagree? Just like a husband and wife, maybe they come together, they have a child, they disagree, but they continue their relationship for the sake of the child. So this is an art, and that art of living is what we need to learn, and it's actually the art of letting go. Because once you hold a position, it's difficult to, that your ego doesn't let go, and that is where we need to learn a little bit about what is our mind, what is our intellect, how do I manage my ego? Because you can't do it in a Harvard program. Harvard will not teach you this. And that is where you have to go inward, and you have to go beyond the upward dog, the downward dog, and learn about yourself. So we can build on it, but this would be my response.
But that's fantastic. I mean, you've already kind of helped me get rid of prejudices and ideas that I had about India. The idea that people, they don't do yoga in India, they don't really know about the history of thought, and the idea that you as an Indian had to learn about this abroad. I mean, that's really, really fascinating. But tell us a little bit about the work you're doing with communities on the whole area of violence and peace for cities, because you're really scaling up an approach to wellness and well-being, etc., through your work there. Tell us a bit about that.
So like I said, I lived in the US 25 years, and violence in the US, which I can speak for, has reached unprecedented proportions. And it doesn't have to be gun violence, although that is what gets media coverage. There are 4 times more people who commit suicide every year. So what it tells you is that there is a lack of mental health, and the gun perhaps is just a means. In London, they are having knife crime, right? So it's just a means, and we have to go beyond the means. We have to look at things like, how can people be contented? How can they be happy? How can they socially coexist? So that is where I started designing the wrapper for that chocolate of inner well-being. And the first project I did was deepened the relation between Los Angeles police officers and community members, former gang members. These are stakeholders that usually don't come and sit and talk to each other. So that is where I felt like, okay, if I can show that these diverse opposite gangs, police officers, and victims of gangs can come together in the spirit of healing themselves. And that is what the carrot is, right? We have to get people interested to say, yes, I need healing. Yes, I am traumatized. Once that uh, door is opened, that yes, I need healing, then that is a lifetimes of worth. And so that is what I did in my first experiment. Is I proved it in an unthinkable location like South Central LA. And that proof of concept is like a lighthouse. You can show that proof of concept to people who don't believe you, who don't trust you. But when you show it, then people start thinking like, oh wow, this is this possible? okay, do it. So that is how the story, it's a story that gets people interested. And for that, I had to make a documentary film. I had to show people uh, how this ancient wisdom can have practical solutions for the problems of today. That is what I have been focusing on.
And I've seen the film actually, From India with Love.
From India with Love, that is the
Love,
name
yeah,
of the film.
it's really, yeah,
And
wonderful.
the idea behind the film is I took people on both sides of a gun. So, survivors of a mass shooting and perpetrators of gun violence. Can they both come together to heal themselves? So, that is the story of the film. The film showed me a different India because most people, we take India for granted. But when you bring people who are, traumatized and from a different culture, they make you see your culture with a different lens. And then you start appreciating something that you have completely taken for granted.
Well, what I find interesting is that you've really brought the practice of meditation and yoga into an area where few would imagine it could be effective. Those who practice meditation on their own, etc., who do these things for their individual needs, um, it's really an innovation and quite an eye opener to know that you can use it for healing the divide in a situation like in Los Angeles, with the violence of crime that it experiences. So what are you doing now? Where is this going to go for you in the future? What are the next steps for you?
The next steps are, I think there are two steps. One is I need to train people how to do it. So there are many people who are bystanders. They don't like the violence, but they only sit and whatever, weep or go for a candle march. So we are just waiting for an act of violence to show the compassion we all have. So the first step in my next steps is to invite bystanders who have realized that they cannot just simply sit on the fence because violence has come near your nose. Like it's so close. So we have to get bystanders to be trained, and that includes young people, that don't have baggage of the past. They are all global citizens. They have access to the phone. They are very well educated. They are on the buzz. We need to give them a mission, a social purpose, and this could be a mission. So that is one. Second is I am looking at how can business invest in peace building because peace and prosperity go hand in hand. So business cannot not play a role. Business has to play a role. And that is where, with my experience at Shell, maybe I want to invite one or two businesses to let's do something together. Let's look at your own supply chain. Let's look at where your staff live because this violence has no barrier. It doesn't look at your skin color. It doesn't look at your bank balance. So, Paul Pullman, who is like the poster boy of this sustainability world. Paul Pullman was in the Mumbai attack. He was in the Taj Hotel. And I thought when I was introduced to Paul Pullman by Sir Mark Moody Stewart, I thought Paul, having gone through a horrible tragedy, would show interest in peace building. But for some reason, busyness, I don't know how to resolve that busyness factor. How can you be not, how can you, like, anyway, we have to move away from these poster boys. We have to invite people who are interested in the future.
You've opened up a really important issue there of the role of business. And but I don't think we have time to pursue that today. I mean, what I would like to pursue is the issue about mental health that you mentioned. So violence, etc. It's a symptom of something that's going wrong in society. And maybe we can pull in Balbir at this stage because he has been working with youth and he has a lot of interesting things to say about the situation of youth, their state of mind, and also the links with India and the spiritual life of young people. So thanks for that, Mandar. Balbir, can you
Yeah, I can
on
hear you.
that?
Yeah. So basically, what I would be talking about is why Gen Z is talking about or seeking spirituality and where they are finding it. So I have some facts and figures. So what's happening is since after the pandemic, people are more conscious about the well-being, and also Gen Z is one of the most anxious and stressed generation in history. So there has been figured by WHO in 2023, I think. So depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide, particularly among the youth. Then there was a research by Harvard Business last year where it says more than 70% of Gen Z experience anxiety and burnout. And then in US, American Psychology Association, they found 91% of Gen Z adult reporting experience of at least one physical or emotional symptoms of stress. So Gen Z is the most anxious and stressed generation till now. And the pressure of academic competition, or let's say career uncertainty, even political uncertainty at times, and social media influence, it is causing a major anxiety and depression. So that is one reason why they are trying to seek meditation, or let's say mindfulness or energy healing. So this is their coping mechanism, which drives them to spirituality. Now, there is a difference how this new generation, they are seeking spirituality. So whenever they talk about spirituality, this means they are less religion, but more spiritual than the previous generations. This means they want flexibility in their beliefs rather than following rigid religious doctrines. So they basically question the system. Why do they need to follow a particular religion doctrine? For example, there was a research by Pew Research. Only 47% of Gen Z identify themselves with a formal religion compared to 67% of the millennials or 78% of Gen X. So this has been decreasing year by year for this new generation. And there was a Springtide research which says 74% of Gen Z says they are spiritual but not religious. Now, this is a very interesting point. They say they are spiritual but not religious. And similarly, there was World Value Survey. It says 68% of Gen Z prefer individual spirituality over institutional faith. So this means there are few keywords: institutional faith or organized religion doctrines. They try to question that, and they have their own way of following this spiritualism. For them, they want more freedom and they want more customization when they talk about spirituality. And one of the, like I said, one of the main reason is also the social media. Uh, so as per the last year record, one Gen Z person spends around 7.2 hours per day on screen. So which is quite a lot. And because of this digital information and social media noise, they feel anxious. So they are basically looking for digital detox experience, something like silent retreat or yoga or mindfulness. Now, how we can see, if you see nowadays a lot of new offices which are built in India also, in world over also. So they have a special room in their corporate office which where people can do mindfulness or do meditation or even prayer for different people. So they have one room which is taking shape in modern offices. And these people are also doing a lot of engagement through spiritual influencers or sometimes AI driven astrological apps. So astrological apps are also becoming quite popular. In fact, Google Trend last year told mindfulness people are searching for mindfulness retreat, and this has increased by 120% in last 5 years. So people are looking for these retreats. There's a section which goes for, let's say, adventure tourism or these fancy places, but there's a very big space for people looking for mindfulness spaces or these kind of retreats. So they basically sometimes they Apte said that yoga, we have a certain way of doing yoga, but I can see nowadays in Delhi, for example, in a lot of cities now, people are coming with these concepts of small yoga studios also. So these young generation, they want to go for these group meditations, sometimes group yoga classes, and they see yoga different from the millennials or Gen X. They see yoga more like a one part is definitely it's more about flexibility or physical wellness. The other part, they think it more like a energy healing. So energy healing becomes a very interesting topic for these young generation. In fact, if one goes through a lot of search in YouTube about meditation, a lot of things, the energy becomes a top word also. So when we talk about energy healing, then the yoga comes, then the sound healing, sound therapy. So these and group meditations, they become a very important part of it. At the same time, worldwide in the TikTok, for example, there is a hashtag spiritual talk. So it has got 35 billion views. So which means a lot of young people, even in TikTok, they are also talking about this spiritual talk. Uh, so this is basically because of this climate change, political uncertainty, economic instability, these young generation are looking for a higher purpose or a deeper meaning. So they have a totally different way of seeing the life compared to the earlier generation. Earlier generation wanted to have a balance between money and work and health, these things, but this generation is looking for okay, what is their purpose. They are looking for that deep meaning. So in order to just to support this fact, for example, Deloitte and McKinsey, they did a lot of research, and if they found over 55% of Gen Z believe in social activism is a form of spiritual practice. So they said that. And Deloitte Gen Z survey, it told 60% of Gen Z feel they are uncertain about the future and they need to seek guidance beyond traditional education and work. So that is why they are looking beyond the traditional way of coping thing. And in Forbes 2024, also data, one of the fastest growing spiritual movement among Gen Z are eco spirituality. So eco spirituality, conscious capitalism, and digital mindfulness. So these are three terms which are the fastest movements in terms of spirituality for this particular generation. Now, the final question comes, how where do they find these spirituality? As I mentioned, they find it definitely through these group classes, sometimes in yoga studios, but one of the very important factor is social media and digital spirituality. So they turn these, instead of going outside these, they want very customized services, which means they turn to online platforms for spiritual guidance instead of religious institutions. So that is why some of the platforms, some of the hashtags, for example, witch talk, manifestation, astrology, they have over 35 billion views on spiritual content. So people are definitely looking for these kind of content. And also there in the YouTube and podcast, people are there are influencers who are teaching manifestation, mindfulness, and Vedic wisdom. In fact, when I was looking through these podcasts, so nowadays a lot of young generations, they are talking about Bhagavad Gita or these Vedic learnings, but they are teaching in totally different way. They are not teaching their religious platform or Hinduism. They are teaching it more how it is relevant to the modern life. So that way, the young generation is definitely enjoying it more, or uh, it is more related to their current life. So finally, the last few things, like somehow they find these kind of, besides the digital thing, they find it in yoga, sound healing, Ayurveda, Vedic astrology. So these are few of the things they are exploring to find these spiritualism. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And thanks for quoting, I guess, like scientific sources. I mean,
Yeah.
because there's always an issue when people talk about these things, what is an individual opinion and an anecdote, etc., and what are the real trends. But I think you've given us a great feeling for, very important trends that are underway right now, especially in the difference in the way Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z experience their spirituality and how this is moving on. But what you're telling us seems to suggest to me kind of institutional upheaval, in the sense that there is a breakaway from organized formal religion with these young cohorts. And also, there's a gap that education is not filling as well, So it seems to be a major challenge to educational systems, to complete people's education as well, so that they're able to look after themselves, not just professionally and economically, but also in terms of their spiritual and mental health as well.
Yeah, in fact, this generation are not very easily open to their parents or their teachers or to their elders to open up with their anxiety. So they do not talk directly to it, rather than they will find these answers through social media or through these online platforms. So that is why it's again becomes very important how to deal with this generation, or how they deal with these particular issues. For example, they themselves will not go to the temples or the religious places unless until their parents pressurize them, or it becomes a part of their traditional family thing. But if they are independent, I've seen that they do not prefer to go these places. They go at times for some particular religious event, for example, but mostly they would prefer to have something in their room. They are doing meditation, or they are putting Buddha, and also they are not following one religion, and they are sometimes they follow different aspects from different religion. For example, they might be following Hinduism, but at the same time they will have something from Buddhism, or something from Christianity. They are not restricted that it has to be intolerance for a particular faith. So yeah, so this generation is definitely have their own way of dealing with spiritualism.
Right. I think this is a good moment to bring in Aksinya. Aksinya is not from India, but has a very rich and deep experience of India for many, many years. So it'll be interesting to see what you have to say, Aksinya, about what you've heard so far, and also your own ideas on spirituality and how it's evolving in the world.
Yeah, and in India, right? So I think since India is our focus today, I think we shall still keep it a little bit in the focus. I need to speak about my connection just very shortly. That first of all, I have been practicing Sahaja Yoga for 30 years. Sahaja Yoga was founded by Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi, and it gives you the self-realization first. You get the Atma Sakshatkar first, and then you practice. This is a very unusual method, but very powerful. So because of that, I was introduced into the whole body of knowledge of the depth of all the immense beauty of Indian spiritual knowledge, scriptures of all kind, epics, everything. And then on top of that, I started Indian classical dance. I'm a Kathak dancer, trained Kathak dancer. And so through the dance, I also attained a lot into the beauty of cultural aspect, and also philosophy and mythology and all of that connected. And then ultimately, I gave to my own daughter, I gave an Indian name, and her name is Malini. which is very kind of normally Western people don't do that, but I just love that, and I feel that this my connection is just so strong. Also of my husband, so we are both into that, and that gives me kind of a perspective, and I want to share it with you because it's relevant to the bigger picture, which we can see. So my first visit, I first visited India in 1996. That was my first spiritual pilgrimage, and I saw it as, you know, as a magic box of wonders. As normally spiritual people perceive India is extremely like enchanting. Yeah, it's enchanting place. Yeah, for if you seek this kind of experience. And that time it was all rather, I would say, innocent in terms of materialism. Then after 9 years, my second visit was after 9 years. After 9 years, 2005, I was already deeply shocked by seeing the huge changes. And the changes are that, you know, there is this new Oscar winner film, animation film. It's called Flow. Please watch it. It's amazing, and it shows like waters, like all this flood, it like huge flood over the whole earth is like the water is flooding earth, but it's steadily and slowly. You know, it's not going like in a tsunami style, but it's a very steady flood, you know, steadily growing flood. And this is the feeling I got what was happening to India. So I was returning back every year, and I saw this flooding of materialism because people could finally, the more and more people could experience wealth in some ways. So the middle class started growing due to some economic developments. And so suddenly I was kind of shocked to say, hey, but what happened to, how is it possible that materialism is capturing such a huge spiritual legacy? And then at some point I realized, okay, but it was probably not spirituality, which India actually had, but as rightly pointed by Mandar, it was more like a religious practice. People were just practicing religions in terms of rituals, more like this ritualistic approach. And then so I realized there is a huge difference between Indian spirituality as a tradition and actual the practice which people do in their daily life. And then I started kind of my interest grew into the direction of the future. What can India do? So it's one of my focuses. I also want to develop more policy suggestions on that. That India has to find a balanced way, not to go amok with its past, because it's also kind of happening in terms of all this, you know, Hindutva movements and so on. It should somehow find a balance between its huge legacy, immense beauty of all of that, and the deep spiritual, also on a level of energy. I mean, there are places in India we know very well, these Swayambos or certain temples will have immense level of like spiritual power, and it's all there, it's all available for everyone, but it should find the balance between that and between this absolute seductive attraction of the West, because the Western materialism is highly attractive and all these technologies and all that. And like my recent visit was 3 years ago. 3 months ago, I was in India, in Bangalore, because I'm an advisor of one of the international schools there. And I saw fantastic, brilliant children, teenagers, which are very smart, really talented, absolutely sharp, good attention, good, you know, what Indian children still have compared to the Western children, they still have very good attention. I mean, it's getting spoiled already a lot by all this digital media, but still it's much better than with the Western kids. So the attention is good, and they have the appetite for learning and achieving. because like children, especially, I don't know America, but in Europe where I live, I'm from Vienna. So in Europe, you can see children, they are completely, they have no ambitions. They don't want anything. They have everything, they are kind of not going anywhere. And Indians, because they have to compete, they have to really, they have this still motivation to achieve, and highly motivated, highly talented, all of that is there, but lack of knowledge of their own culture, that shocked me deeply. Actually, I realized that they have no deep understanding of where they actually live. Their whole focus of attention is the West. And even if they don't want to go to the West and live in the West, but still they want to learn a lot from that and pick up all practices. So my kind of concern for India is how to find the middle path, how to bring about this balance between this depth of the legacy and the power of the future. Because India, as we know, it's already the largest population-wise country in the world. It will only grow for some time more, and it has enormous potential for everything. So I'm strongly believe in India. I strongly believe in its great future, and it only needs the wisdom. It needs to keep to its natural wisdom and don't follow everything blindly, because there are a lot of very attractive and seductive things, which actually if you consider things like, okay, we spoke about violence, but also another major problem in the West and lack of connection. People lose emotional connection to each other. Societies are broken. Families are broken because mostly people cannot connect to each other, especially older generations. Gen Z, they can. My daughter is 13, so I know very well this generation. They're amazing. They're brilliant, and I'm sure they will make it better. They will definitely make it much better than we are, because they have this is the most knowledgeable generation on earth. Think of that. The things they know from all these TikToks and all the stuff they get in social media, we were nowhere near in our youth, no? So they're very, like rightly Balbir pointed out, they are very conscious about many things. They follow trends, but there are lots of amazing trends. There are amazing, fantastic trends for personal growth. And my daughter always shows me because she is also a young, aspiring futurist, so kind of she shows me always the trends. Mama, look, and this is now is coming, then that, people. So trends like slow food, mindful eating, mindful taking care of your body, spiritual practice, everything is there, as you rightly pointed, Balbir. So they are amazing. They are great. And this is our hope that this generation will make it better, also in India. So, but still, let's learn also, all of us, we should learn how to um, fuse the past and the present and the future in a meaningful, beautiful way. And this is, of course, the best done through spiritual practice.
That's fantastic. What's fascinating, I mean, when we spoke first about this, you made the point that many of the practices, yoga, meditation, etc., are now mainstream. They're universal all over the world, So a lot of the ancient wisdom of India has now become, in a sense, the wisdom of the world.
Yes.
And India is losing the connection with its own past. And socially, different cohorts are losing the connection with each other. But nevertheless, you're optimistic about how this will evolve in the future.
Yes, because the youth is different. I can see they're connecting immediately. They're connecting very easily. They're very different. You can't compare. We and all the generations and everyone except for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're all not connecting well. There are huge problems, mental, like we are judging each other. We are not willing to connect. I think Mandar can speak a lot about it, because it's exactly that. That is the point: to agree to disagree, but at least let's meet and do something. No, that's not happening, especially today. Radicalization, polarization on any topic, it's there. No, but the youth, they are different. I tell you, they're absolutely different in that, and that's why they will make it. Because
Fantastic.
and this is, by the way, they're different because of social media.
Yes.
Because only because of that. And this is what we have to face, and don't blame it. Yes, my daughter is 7 hours a day on social media, but I mean, she grows immensely on that, but she also meditates.
Very good. Listen, I see Mandar and Balbir are moving in the chairs. I see the expressions on their faces. So I know they want to come in and add something to that. So since we're also close to the end, what I'll do now is kind of ask Balbir and Mandar to give their final comments, and then I'll ask you to wrap it up after that. So,
May I go first because my
please.
battery is low.
Sure,
And I
sure.
fear that. So I am just. My heart is just warm. If you touch my heart, Aksinya, I'm so touched by your not only concern for the world, but also the love for what I call Mother India. And I would like to share a statement that has driven my life for the last 20 years. If the whole world is a home, India has always been the prayer room for reflection and inner transformation.
Yes.
And this is proven millenniums. So many people have come here when they are confused and taken time out. And somehow we Indians, we do not have that experience, especially urban India. But if you take a journey in rural India, that culture is still alive. And that is the focus of my work, is how do I show the world that India, that culture. And I would love to collaborate. I also am impressed with your spiritual background, because that is how you deepen your roots.
Yes.
And my guru is Sri Ravi Shankar. He's the founder of the Art of Living Foundation. And 22 years ago, when I met him in Houston, and I heard his lectures on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and Bhakti Sutras, I felt I found my best friend, and that is my relation with him. I teach the Art of Living programs that are taught worldwide now, 150 countries. And what he has done is he has actually created the wrapper for Indian culture. And we all need to learn the art of living. So when I started pondering on what is the choice of these words, that somehow we have forgotten how to live, because we forget that we are all going to die. If we are going to die, that means we know we need to learn how to live. And then that means it is not just eating, sleeping, whatever, going for a movie. There must be more to my life. And once that seed is planted, then that transformation journey, there's a lifetime of it. So what I feel is that young people today have everything at the hand of a click, right? That means now they will have a vacuum. They will have a vacuum of what do they do now. So that is where we need to give them a different purpose. That you have to learn how to live, coexist, because this is a dangerous world otherwise, right? I was just in London a few days ago. People are scared wearing Rolex watches in central London because of growing knife crime. People are cutting the hand to steal the Rolex watch. And it is not black on black crime, it is white on white crime. 12-year-olds have macheted a 19-year-old. And that means these young people need help, they need solace. And India has to play the role. And the people like Aksinya, you are also Indian. There is nothing different. And Felix and Patrick, they're also Indian because they have understood to have this conversation, you need to have a certain level of emotional maturity, futuristic thinking, right? So I think that is where, and I'll leave it with one thought again. Uh, One of the founders I met of India's largest IT company, the brand that we all know, and I was telling him he's a multi-billionaire, right? I was telling him, sir, after working at Shell, I now look at peace and prosperity. And he tapped on my shoulder and he said, I'm not interested. I said, okay, sir, then what are you interested in? And he said, well, I'm interested in neuroscience and the link of neuroscience with longevity. I said, sir, my work is not very far away. It is a related domino. Lack of stress, I mean, stress, mental well being, trauma, lifespan is less. Violence, lifespan is less. But he just tapped on my shoulder again and he said, I told you, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So we have to find the enlightened business leader, and brands are global. Brands have to take ownership for peace and coexistence. That is where I will leave it. But I'm just honored to be on this panel. Balbir ji, over to you. And when I come to New Delhi, I would love to meet you.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I have it different take because like Aksinya, I also have a daughter who is a Bharatanatyam dancer and she is a runner and doing yoga at a competitive level. So I am very much connected to this generation, and also I'm teaching at the university level also. So the way these young generation, if generally if they are asked to do some particular thing because it is a kind of wisdom, they generally do not follow it easily unless and until it is told them in a more reasonable, logical, and more storytelling way. So let me say it as simple like when I travel, I normally go to a lot of university in UK or US or even in Germany and also in India. So I find these young generation, they themselves do not say that they are citizen of a particular country. They themselves found more as a universal citizen. So for them, the world becomes their country, and they are not restricted mentally to a particular route. So they think spirituality is not about rituals or a particular religion or a particular region as such. So it is more about connection, well-being, and self-discovery. So this is how they are defining themselves, and it is a very interesting way, like Aksinya said, that social media and the digital platform, they are also defining. So recently I was teaching a very interesting subject to students, like you said, that Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Art of Living. So I did take a totally different subject, which is known as designing your life. So this I've been taught this from the Stanford University. So this is a very interesting course, Designing Your Life. This is also something like this, but it has a design process. So it is a process driven rather than where we are not talking about wisdom, religion, or what we should do, why we should do. We are trying to define life and find the ultimate goal and then design the life. So it's, I think the only difference is the new generation, they have their own way of reaching spiritualism or own way of living. And somehow if we can marry between what you said, the traditional wisdom and this the modern way, then it would be a wonderful answer. Yeah. Hmm. I think that's it. Hmm.
Aksinya, can you wrap up for us now?
I mean, yeah, the wrap up is that, yeah, I think, okay, let me put it again. I like the global picture, I like to see a global picture. And recently I've been musing and meditating a lot about the things happening in the world and all these sudden, it looks like sudden for us drive into the far right everywhere, and all this increasing violence, increasing wars, increasing political domination. And I was asking myself, but how is it possible? Because to my And to my experience, I'm connected to amazing, wonderful people from all over the world, and I'm watching a lot of like progressive movements, progressive developments everywhere. All these people who are actually thought leaders, mostly, yeah, these are people who are so, in many ways, enlightened, so progressive, so, I mean, people who put humanity in the core of everything. And then I was asking myself, but how is it possible that we are now where we are globally? Yeah, globally, it's a total mess and total kind of like we sold our souls, did we? What happened? How is it possible that we are experiencing all that? And then what will come next after that? And then I think, okay, but all this huge amount of knowledge, experience, and love for humanity, which so many millions of people do have. I mean, just look at how many people do involve into volunteering of all kinds of organizations. I mean, all of us, what we are doing here is also that. Yeah, this is the contribution to the world peace and love and harmony because we want to amplify that. Yeah. So I was thinking, where is all that? It's there. It's nowhere gone. It's there. It's still there. What will happen? So my prediction, my futurist kind of not prediction, but aspiration and vision and hope that um, at some point, whatever is happening today, it will stop because, yeah, also probably because of some because of the kind of revolt or peaceful revolt or whatever, there will be some change because humanity will not be able to tolerate all this for a long time. Because, like, my daughter just today, she sent me, you know what, she showed me some videos on TikTok. You know what, yeah, like teenagers say about Trump. He say, you know, they say he is a teenage girl. In his behavior, he behaves like a typical teenage girl. And they make funny videos about that all his style of communication is like teenage girls behave, and they say that's just ridiculous. And where I'm saying that all what we have discussed, also this new generation, all this growing of awareness, self-awareness, spirituality, which is huge. Spirituality is an absolute normal word today. I mean, I always say, yes, you know, I have been meditating for 30 years daily, and people are like, wow. Yeah, today I can say this. 10 years ago, even I couldn't say that because I would have been looked, you know, strangely at. And so my belief is that all this potential, all this huge amount of love which is there, it will manifest at certain point, and the future of us all, of the whole of humanity, will be good because of that. It's inevitable because all of this is there. It's available. And we just have to see that we hold it and we amplify that and we maximize that and that we don't stop. Because all these events, also like the war in Ukraine, all these things are very extremely sad and unfortunate. And like when you look at this, you may lose your hope in humanity. But my call will be that we should not lose our hope. We should still continue what we're doing, continue loving people, continue sharing our experiences and supporting each other. And at some point, because this is the law of nature, you know, this is the law of nature, it will bring fruits, it will bear fruits. It cannot not do that. That's why, yes, this is my last final words.
Thank you, Aksinya. And I think this reminds me of the movie made by Mandar from India with Love. It's a perfect closing of the loop. We raised many issues today, but I think overall the message is very optimistic. And what I'd like to do right now is thank all of you. Thanks to you, Aksinya. Thanks to Mandar. Thanks to Balbir for taking part in this meeting today. I think, and I hope we'll be meeting again in the future. And I'm very much looking forward to it. So for all of those of you who are watching this, the Future Now show, if you liked it and enjoy it, hit like, send links to your friends, tell them to watch it, and don't forget to subscribe. And thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Okay, thank you very
so
much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.